presented by Soundlibra.com. Explore more titles via the link in the description or at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to Raise Independent Thinkers. Let's explore how to nurture thoughtful inquiry.
And I'm Lisa. We're delighted to join you on this journey. Just a quick heads up before we get started. While we're discussing child development and education, we aren't medical or mental health professionals, so please consult with a specialist for any specific concerns.
That's an important note. Today, episode 1 explores the spark of curiosity. This is the very foundation.
The spark of curiosity. It feels so fundamental, doesn't it? Like the first glimmer of understanding in a child.
Absolutely, Lisa. From birth, babies observe, reach, and try to grasp their surroundings. They explore with their senses, driven by a natural urge to comprehend. It's this innate desire to understand the world.
It's as if their minds are buzzing with unspoken questions. What is this? Why is this happening? What if I try this?
Precisely. This natural curiosity is a powerful learning tool, the engine that propels children to explore and discover. Without it, learning can feel like a burden. With it, it's an exciting adventure.
So, how do we, as guides, nurture this natural spark? Because sometimes it seems to fade as children grow.
That's a crucial point, and one we'll revisit. For now, the key is to recognize and cherish that curiosity. When a child asks why repeatedly, see it not as an annoyance, but as a chance to connect. They're actively seeking to understand the reasons behind things.
The famous why phase. It can feel never-ending. So, we shouldn't try to stop it?
Exactly. Treat each why as an invitation to explore deeper. It's a child's effort to understand a concept more fully. So, our first strategy is to welcome these questions. Encourage them. Even if you don't have the perfect answer, acknowledging the question makes a huge difference.
Instead of just saying, because, we could perhaps say, that's a really interesting question. What do you think the reason might be?
That's a perfect illustration, Lisa. You're not just providing an answer, you're inviting them to think with you. You're showing them their questions have value and that exploring the answer is a valuable part of the learning process. This is how we begin to cultivate thoughtful inquiry. We create an environment where questions are not just permitted, but are genuinely welcomed.
So, it's about making the act of questioning a positive experience. We are born with curiosity, and our role is to be the gentle care that helps that spark grow into a strong flame, not to put it out.
That's a wonderful analogy. This growing flame of curiosity naturally leads us to the next important step, learning to ask impactful questions. What makes a question effective? What are the different kinds of questions we can ask? These are topics we will discuss in our next episode.
To summarize today's discussion on the spark of curiosity, children are inherently curious, and their questions are their way of understanding their world. Our role is to nurture this by receiving their questions warmly and encouraging them to think about the answers.
Precisely. We recognize that innate drive and help it flourish. A curious child is a child well on their way to becoming an independent, thoughtful individual.
It truly is a powerful starting point.
It is. Thanks for listening. Next episode, The Art of Asking Why. Welcome back. Last time, we ignited the spark of curiosity. Now let's focus on transforming that spark into a steady flame by mastering the art of asking why.
That's right, Alex. Last episode, we talked about nurturing that initial sense of wonder in children. Today, we're diving deep into the power of the question why. It might seem simple, but it's a fundamental tool for critical thinking.
Absolutely. Think about it. Why is the question that drives exploration. It's the gateway to understanding the underlying reasons, the causes, and the motivations behind everything. For kids, it's often the first sign that they're moving beyond just observing to actually trying to comprehend.
And it's so natural for them, isn't it? You see it with toddlers constantly. Why is the sky blue? Why do we have to eat vegetables? Our job as parents and educators is to not just tolerate these questions, but to actually encourage them.
Exactly. The key is how we, as adults, respond. If we get impatient or dismissive, we can unintentionally shut down that inquisitive spirit. Instead, we want to create an environment where asking why is celebrated.
So, what are some practical ways we can do that? How do we keep that why conversation going effectively?
Great question, Lisa. One of the most important strategies is to model curiosity yourself. When you're curious about something, voice that curiosity and include the why in your own thinking process. For example, if you see something new, you might say, I wonder why they designed it that way. Or, why do you think this happened?
I like that. It shows kids that it's okay to not know everything and that seeking answers is a normal, even enjoyable, part of life.
Precisely. Another strategy is to not just answer why questions, but to turn them back to the child whenever appropriate. Instead of just giving the factual answer, you can ask, that's a great question. Why do you think the sky is blue? This encourages them to start thinking through the logic themselves.
That's a really powerful technique, the Socratic method for kids. It empowers them to use their own minds rather than just passively receiving information.
It really does. And when they do offer a reason, even if it's not entirely accurate, acknowledge their thought process. You can say, that's an interesting idea. Let's explore that further. Or what makes you think that? This validates their thinking and encourages them to refine their ideas.
So it's about guiding them towards the answer rather than just handing it to them. Building on that, Alex, what if a child asks a why question that's a bit more complex, or perhaps one that we don't immediately know the answer to?
That's a fantastic opportunity. Instead of saying, I don't know, which can feel like a dead end, you can say, that's a really good question. I'm not sure of the answer right now, but let's find out together. This models problem solving and research skills. You can then explore resources like books, reliable websites, or even talk to an expert.
That turns a moment of not knowing into a shared learning experience. It's about showing them that the process of seeking knowledge is as important as the knowledge itself.
Exactly. And it's important to distinguish between different kinds of why questions. Some are seeking factual reasons, like why does bread rise? Others are seeking emotional or social reasons, like why was she sad? For those latter questions, we guide them towards empathy by asking, how do you think she might have been feeling? Or what might have happened to make her feel that way?
This helps them understand that there are often multiple layers to a situation, and not all whys have a single, simple answer. It's about developing their emotional intelligence alongside their analytical skills.
Precisely. And over time, as children become more comfortable asking why, they'll start to ask more nuanced questions. They'll move from why is that happening to why is that the best way for that to happen? Or why is this rule in place?
That progression is so exciting to witness. It shows they're starting to question not just facts, but also systems, processes, and logic.
It's the foundation of independent thinking. When children are encouraged to ask why, they learn to question assumptions, to look for evidence, and to form their own reasoned conclusions. They become active participants in understanding the world rather than passive recipients of information.
So, to recap for our listeners, encouraging why questions is crucial for critical thinking. We can do this by modeling curiosity, turning questions back to the child, validating their thought processes, and embarking on joint learning quests when we don't have immediate answers.
And remember, it's about guiding them to explore the reasons behind things, whether they're factual, emotional, or societal. This process not only deepens their understanding, but also builds their confidence in their own ability to think and learn.
It truly is the art of asking why, a skill that will serve them and all of us throughout life.
Next episode, Beyond the Surface, we'll explore the power of asking how and what if. Welcome back. Last time we dove deep into the power of asking why. Today, we're building on that foundation. We're going to explore two more fundamental question types that really help kids think critically. How and what if?
Right, Alex? So, we've got kids asking why. That's about understanding the reasons behind things. But how do we get them to think about the processes or even the potential for change? That's where how and what if come in.
Exactly. Let's start with how. When a child asks, how does this work? They're not just looking for a reason. They're interested in the steps, the sequence, the mechanism behind something. Think about a simple toy. A child might ask, why does it light up? That's curiosity about the purpose. But then they might follow up with, how does it light up?
That's a great distinction. So, asking how is about digging into the process. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion to see what's inside. It encourages a more analytical way of thinking. Instead of just accepting that something happens, they want to understand the path it took to get there.
Precisely. And this is crucial for problem solving. If a child wants to build something or figure out why something isn't working, asking how helps them break down the task. How do I put these blocks together? Or how can I fix this leaky faucet? These questions prompt a step-by-step approach.
It also helps them understand cause and effect more deeply. If they ask, how did the cake get burned? They might realize it was left in the oven too long. That connects the action with the outcome in a practical, process-oriented way. It's not just about why it's burned, but how it became burned.
And this is where we can encourage them further. When they ask how, guide them to think about the sequence of events. For a car, it's not just, how does it go? It's how does the engine start? How does it shift gears? How does it brake? This trains their mind to think in a linear, logical fashion about processes. We're not giving them the answer, but encouraging them to observe and think about the steps.
So, asking how moves us from simple explanation to understanding the workings of things. It's about moving from the why to the what's involved in making it happen.
You got it. Now let's shift gears to what if. This is where creativity and imagination really take flight. What if? Questions challenge the current reality and explore possibilities, hypotheticals, and alternative scenarios.
Oh, I love what if. This is the question that sparks all sorts of fun scenarios, isn't it? Like, what if animals could talk? Or what if we lived on the moon?
Exactly. And while it seems like pure imagination, it's actually a powerful tool for developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills. When a child asks, what if we tried this differently? Or what if this happened instead? They're engaging in hypothetical reasoning. They're exploring consequences of actions or situations that aren't currently real.
So, it's not just about fanciful stories. It's about practicing different ways of thinking. If something isn't working, what if we moved this piece? Or what if we used a different material? Are really problem-solving questions in disguise.
Absolutely. It helps them consider different perspectives and solutions. It's about stepping outside the immediate situation and imagining alternatives. This is huge for adapting to new situations and for innovation. If a child thinks, what if there were no more trees? They start to understand the importance of conservation in a very tangible way.
That makes sense. It's like training their brain to be flexible. Instead of getting stuck on one way of doing things, they start to see a landscape of possibilities. It encourages them to think about consequences that are not immediately obvious.
And when we encourage what if questions, we're fostering resilience. If something goes wrong, a child who's used to exploring what if scenarios might be better equipped to think, okay, that didn't work. What if we try this instead of getting discouraged? They've already practiced exploring alternatives in their minds.
So, to recap for our listeners, we started with why, to understand reasons. Now we're adding how, to understand processes and mechanics. And finally, what if, to explore possibilities and alternative scenarios. These three question types, why, how, and what if, form a powerful trio for developing curious, analytical, and creative minds.
You've nailed it, Lisa. We're guiding them beyond simple answers to understand the world in a much richer way. We're teaching them to dissect, to analyze, and to imagine. This isn't just about getting good grades. It's about equipping them to navigate a complex world with confidence and ingenuity.
It's like giving them a toolkit. Why? Helps them understand the foundation. How? Helps them understand the construction. And what if? Helps them imagine what else they could build or how they could adapt.
Perfect analogy. So, encourage these questions at home and in everyday life. When they're playing, reading, or even just observing something, prompt them with these question starters. You'll be amazed at how their thinking deepens.
It's all about nurturing that innate curiosity and giving them the language and the confidence to explore it.
Indeed, we've covered a lot today about moving beyond surface level curiosity. We've seen how asking how unlocks understanding of processes and mechanics, and how what if opens up a world of possibilities and creative problem solving. These questions are essential for developing flexible, analytical, and imaginative thinkers.
And as Alex mentioned, these question types work together beautifully. They encourage kids to look at information from multiple angles, to understand not just the reasons behind things, but the way they work and what could be different.
Next episode, we'll explore a crucial but often overlooked aspect of critical thinking: how to determine if the information we're receiving is actually true. It's time to start decoding information. Welcome back. Last time we explored asking how and what if. Now, let's decode information and understand if it's true.
Absolutely, Alex. We're equipping kids to analyze, not just accept. This is episode 4, focusing on that vital question. Is it true?
To start, a fact is something that can be proven true based on evidence and reality. The sky is blue. That's a fact we can observe.
Right. It's objective. So, how do we help children identify a fact?
We encourage them to look for ways to verify it. Can we see it? Can we measure it? Can multiple sources confirm it? If a child says, "My toy is the fastest ever," ask, "How do you know? Can we time it with other toys?" This starts them on the path of looking for proof.
Brilliant. It's about asking for the evidence. And this leads us to opinions, doesn't it?
Exactly. An opinion is a belief, a feeling, or a judgment, not necessarily based on facts. If the sky is blue, an opinion might be, "Blue is the prettiest color for the sky."
And opinions are often presented with certainty. How do we help them tell the difference?
Listen for signal words. Words like "I think," "I believe," "in my opinion," "it seems," or "probably" often signal an opinion. If someone says, "I think pizza is the best food," the "I think" is a clear indicator of their personal preference.
So, it's a mental flag that says, this is someone's view, not a universal truth.
Precisely. We can practice this with everyday examples. When reading a book, ask, "Does the author think this character is brave? Or do we have proof because of what they did?"
Great way to integrate it. It's not a separate lesson, but a way of interacting with information. It's where questioning solidifies by differentiating between what is and what someone thinks.
Indeed, Lisa, this skill is vital. Think about news reports, ads, or conversations. Not everything is a verifiable fact.
So, to recap, facts are provable, opinions are personal beliefs. We learn to listen for opinion words.
And this is just the beginning of becoming discerning information consumers. When something sounds convincing, it's worth a moment of thought. The question, is it true, is the foundation.
It's about building an internal filter. Instead of blindly accepting, they pause and ask, how do I know this is true? It's a powerful act of independence.
It truly is. It sets them up for success. Remember the spark of curiosity in episode 1? This is where that spark ignites by guiding it towards understanding reality.
So, for our listeners, encourage your children to ask for the why behind statements. Ask them, how do you know that? Or what makes you say that?
Exactly. And help them understand there are different kinds of truth, scientific, historical, personal, but all need verification or understanding of their basis.
As they grow, this ability to decode information helps them make better decisions, form stronger arguments, and become more independent thinkers.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. We're building a toolkit, and understanding truthfulness is a fundamental tool.
So, to wrap up, facts are provable, opinions are beliefs. Listen for opinion words. Always encourage kids to ask, how do we know this is true?
That's right. This skill of evaluating information empowers them to keep asking questions and seeking genuine understanding.
It's exciting to see them develop this critical thinking ability.
It truly is. And next time, we're going to tackle assumptions. We'll explore what they are, how they influence understanding, and how to spot them.
Ooh, assumptions. That sounds really insightful. So, for our listeners, next time we'll be unmasking assumptions.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Raise Independent Thinkers. Last time, we explored how to help kids evaluate the truthfulness of information. Today, we're diving into something a little more subtle, but just as important, unmasking assumptions.
Assumptions. That's a great word. I think a lot of us go through life making them without even realizing it. For kids, this is such a crucial skill to develop early on, building directly on what we talked about last episode.
Exactly, Lisa. Think about it. When we evaluate information, we're often looking at what's explicitly stated. But beneath every statement, every idea, there are often unstated beliefs or ideas that the speaker or writer takes for granted. These are assumptions.
So, it's like the hidden scaffolding that holds up an argument or a piece of information. If that scaffolding is weak or even wrong, the whole thing could fall apart.
Precisely. And helping children identify these hidden ideas is key to developing critical thinking. It's about teaching them that not everything we're told is the whole story, or even based on solid ground. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine you tell your child, the weather forecast says it's going to rain tomorrow, so wear your raincoat to school.
Okay, that seems straightforward. The assumption there is that the forecast is accurate, right?
That's one assumption. But there's another, perhaps even more fundamental one, that wearing a raincoat is the only or best way to stay dry. What if your child thinks, but what about my umbrella or my waterproof jacket? These thoughts reveal an emerging awareness that the initial statement might not be the only valid approach.
I see. So, we're encouraging them to question not just the source of the information, but the underlying beliefs that shape the information itself.
Exactly. And it's a skill that grows with practice. For younger children, you could start with very concrete examples. You could say, I'm packing a picnic lunch because of this sunny day. What's the assumption here?
That sunny days are good for picnics, and that we expect the sun to stay out for the whole picnic.
Perfect. Now, how can we challenge that assumption in a way that's helpful, not dismissive? You might ask, what if it gets cloudy? Should we still have the picnic? Or, what else could we do on a sunny day besides a picnic? This isn't about saying your initial thought is wrong, but about exploring other possibilities and acknowledging that your plan is based on certain expectations.
That makes sense. It's about broadening their thinking. So, what are some practical ways we can help kids identify these assumptions in everyday life and even in things they read or watch?
One great technique is to introduce the idea of what else could be true. When they hear a statement or read a story, ask them, what does the author think is true that they didn't say out loud? Or what do we assume is true when we hear this?
So, for instance, if a story says, the knight bravely fought the dragon to save the princess, what are the assumptions there?
That knights are always good, dragons are always bad, and that princesses always need saving. A child who starts to unmask these assumptions might ask, what if the dragon wasn't bad? What if it was protecting something? Or what if the princess could fight her own battles? These questions reveal an awareness of the unstated beliefs shaping the narrative.
That's powerful. It encourages empathy and a deeper understanding of characters and situations. It moves beyond a simple good versus evil binary.
Absolutely. And this skill is vital as they encounter more complex information. Think about advertisements. Advertisers make assumptions all the time. They assume you want to be popular, that owning their product will make you happy, or that you need their item to be successful.
So, when a child sees an ad for a new toy, we can ask, what does this ad want us to believe without saying it directly? What are they assuming about us?
Exactly. They assume we'll be happier if we have this toy. Or they assume we don't have enough fun right now. By unpacking these assumptions, children can start to see ads for what they are, attempts to persuade, based on these often unacknowledged beliefs.
This is so important for building media literacy. It's not just about whether the ad is telling the truth, but about the underlying messages it's trying to sell us.
Precisely. Another way to foster this is by encouraging them to think about different perspectives. If someone says, school is boring, what assumptions are they making?
Maybe they assume school is only about lectures and tests. They assume their learning style isn't catered to. They assume there's no enjoyment to be found.
Right. And then we can ask, what if someone else thinks school is exciting? What might they be assuming that's different from what you're assuming? This difference in assumption is what leads to different experiences and opinions. So, we're teaching kids that our assumptions shape our reality and that other people have their own set of assumptions, which explains why they might see things differently.
It's about understanding that our own viewpoint and the assumptions that underpin it isn't the only valid one. It opens the door to understanding disagreement without it necessarily being an argument.
That's a wonderful way to put it. And remember, this is a progressive process. You're not expecting your child to become a master assumption unmasker overnight. It starts with simple observations and gradually builds. As they get older and encounter more abstract ideas, you can apply the same principles. For example, if you're discussing history, you might ask, what did people assume about the world back then that we don't assume now?
That's a great way to connect past and present thinking. It helps them understand historical context and how beliefs evolve.
It truly does. So, to recap our discussion today, unmasking assumptions is about looking beyond what's explicitly stated to identify the unacknowledged beliefs that support an idea. We can help children do this by asking questions like, what else could be true? What does the speaker assume? And by exploring different perspectives. This is a vital step in evaluating information, understanding opinions, and ultimately, thinking for themselves.
It's about helping them see the invisible architecture of thought, which is such a powerful tool for independent minds. Remembering to question the taken for granted is a game changer.
Absolutely. And in our next episode, we'll build on this by exploring the world of opinions, both our own and those of others. We'll learn how to differentiate between facts and opinions and understand the role they play in shaping our understanding.
Sounds fascinating. So, get ready to dig into opinions next time on Raise Independent Thinkers.
Welcome back. Last time we explored unmasking assumptions. Now let's tackle opinions.
Opinions. That's such a crucial topic. It feels like everywhere we turn, people are sharing their opinions, and it can be tricky for kids to navigate that. How do we help them understand what an opinion even is?
That's a great starting point, Lisa. We need to explain that an opinion isn't a fact. A fact is something that can be proven true or false. For example, the sky is blue is a fact, assuming it's a clear day. We can check that.
Right. We can look up, we can test it.
Exactly. But an opinion is a personal viewpoint. It's what someone thinks or feels about something. So, blue is the prettiest color is an opinion. Your neighbor might think green is the prettiest, and that's okay too. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to opinions.
So, the key difference is that opinions are subjective, they come from inside a person, while facts are objective, meaning they can be verified externally.
Precisely. And a helpful way to teach this to kids is through everyday examples. When you're at home, you can say, I think pizza is the best dinner, and then ask them, what do you think? Do you have an opinion about pizza?
Oh, I like that. It makes it personal and relatable. They can immediately connect with their own food preferences, for instance.
Absolutely. And this leads to another important point, helping children form their own opinions. It's not just about recognizing them, but about developing the confidence to have them.
How do we encourage that? Sometimes kids might just parrot what they hear from parents or friends.
That's a common challenge. We want them to think for themselves. So, when they express an opinion, we can gently ask, why do you think that? Or what makes you feel that way? This encourages them to dig a little deeper than just saying something they heard. It's like having a little detective inside their own head exploring their thoughts.
So, instead of just accepting something as their own opinion, they're prompted to explore the reasoning behind it. That's brilliant for critical thinking.
It is. And it's also vital that we show them how to express their opinions respectfully. We don't want them to think that just because it's their opinion, they can be rude or dismissive of others.
That's a really important boundary to set. So, what does respectful opinion sharing look like for a child?
It starts with listening. When someone else shares their opinion, even if it's different from yours, you listen without interrupting. You try to understand their viewpoint. Then, when it's your turn to speak, you can use phrases like, I understand you think X, but I feel Y because, or my opinion is. This acknowledges the other person while clearly stating your own.
So, it's about validating the other person's right to their opinion, even if you disagree. That's a huge life skill.
It really is. And it's about teaching them that disagreements are normal and healthy, as long as they are handled with respect. Think of it like a friendly debate club for kids. Everyone gets to share their ideas, and the goal isn't to win, but to understand different perspectives.
I love that analogy. So, we're teaching them to form their own, well reasoned opinions and then to express them constructively. What happens when their opinions are challenged? That can be tough.
It can be especially tough for children who are just learning to trust their own thoughts. When a child's opinion is challenged, it's an opportunity, not a threat. We can help them see it as a chance to revisit their reasoning. Someone might say, I disagree with your opinion that soccer is the best sport. I think swimming is better because.
And then, instead of getting defensive, the child can think, okay, why do I think soccer is the best? What are my reasons? Am I missing something?
Exactly. They can then respond with, I like soccer because I enjoy the teamwork and the feeling of the crowd cheering. Or perhaps, that's a good point about swimming. I hadn't thought about how good it is for your whole body. This shows maturity and a willingness to learn. It's about being open to other ideas without abandoning your own sound judgment.
So we're building their confidence in their own thoughts, but also their open-mindedness. It's a balance.
It's a delicate balance, but a crucial one. And it also helps them understand that not everyone has to agree all the time. Imagine a playground. Some kids love swings, others love slides. That's perfectly fine. They can still play together. Their preferences don't stop them from being friends.
That's a really clear image. And it makes sense that as they get older, these opinions will cover more complex topics.
Absolutely. From favorite colors to favorite books to opinions on social issues. The foundational skills of understanding what an opinion is, how to form one thoughtfully grounded in your own experiences and reasoning, and how to express it respectfully are the same.
So, to recap for our listeners, we're encouraging them to help children understand that opinions are personal viewpoints, not absolute truths. They should prompt kids to explore why they hold a certain opinion, encouraging depth and self-reflection. And critically, they need to teach respectful communication for both sharing their own opinions and hearing others.
That's a wonderful summary, Lisa. It's all about equipping them with the tools to navigate a world full of different voices and perspectives, so they can form their own informed ideas with confidence and grace.
It really is an empowering set of skills.
Next episode, Spotting Bias, a Sneaky Influence. Welcome back. Last time we discussed opinions. Now let's tackle spotting bias.
Bias. It's a word we hear a lot, but what does it actually mean, and how do we help kids recognize it?
Bias is a leaning towards or against something, often unfairly. Think of it like a scale that's already tilted.
So, it's a preference that influences a view, not necessarily intentional meanness?
Precisely. This preference can come from experiences, upbringing, or what we consume. It colors how we see things. Remember an episode where we talked about checking if information is true? Spotting bias is key. Biased information might not be the whole or even an accurate truth.
And it can be really sneaky, right?
It really doesn't announce itself. One common form is confirmation bias. This is our tendency to look for information that already fits with what we believe.
So if I believe cats are best, I'll notice more good cat stories and fewer good dog stories.
You've got it. It's like wearing special glasses that only highlight what you want to see. This can make us feel more sure of our beliefs, but doesn't necessarily make them true. It keeps us from seeing the full picture.
How can we help kids notice this?
We encourage them to seek information that disagrees with them. Ask them, what's another way to look at this? Or, can you find something that says the opposite? It's about challenging their own first thoughts.
So, the suspect is your own initial opinion.
Great analogy. Another bias is the halo effect. This happens when our overall impression of a person or brand influences how we feel about their specific actions or products. If we like someone, we assume they're good at everything.
Like if a celebrity we admire endorses a cereal, we might assume it's healthy and delicious without checking ingredients.
Exactly. That positive feeling, or halo, around a celebrity is unfairly transferred to the cereal. We're not judging the cereal on its own merits. To combat this, we teach kids to separate. Ask, what do you like about this person? Now, let's look only at this specific product. What does it actually say or do?
So, evaluating the subject on its own terms, not based on who or what is attached to it.
Precisely. Then there's anchoring bias. This is when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. That first piece becomes our anchor.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine a toy advertised for $50, but marked down to $30. The $50 price is the anchor. You might think $30 is a fantastic deal, but maybe the toy was never worth $50. Perhaps $25 is its true value. That initial anchor price skewed your perception.
So, the first number we see can trick us into thinking things are better or worse.
It can. For kids, this can apply to prices, but also to ideas. If the first explanation they hear about an event is from one source, they might anchor to that version. We counter this by encouraging them to gather multiple pieces of information before forming a strong opinion. Let's see what else we can find before we decide.
This is so helpful. So we've talked about confirmation bias, the halo effect, and anchoring bias. These are all ways our thinking can be unfairly tilted.
Right? And it's not just about personal biases. We also need to be aware of bias in media and statements from others. A news report might focus on negative aspects if its audience prefers sensationalism. Advertisements only highlight the good things.
So, when consuming information, we're always looking for that lean. Where is the author trying to move us?
Exactly. We look for loaded language, words with strong feelings. We look for what's missing. Are they leaving out facts that might change our minds? We ask, who is telling this story and what might they gain?
This ties back to episode 6 about opinions. My opinion might be biased, and your opinion might be biased, and even facts can be presented in a biased way.
It's a constant process of critical engagement. We want children to question, analyze, and understand influences. It's about empowering them to form their own well-reasoned conclusions, not just accepting the first or loudest voice.
So, to recap, bias is a leaning for or against something, often unfairly. We discussed confirmation bias, favoring info supporting beliefs, the halo effect, overall positive feelings influencing specific judgments, and anchoring bias, over relying on first information.
And by teaching kids to seek different viewpoints, judge things on their own merits, and gather information from multiple sources before forming conclusions, we're giving them powerful tools to navigate the world's information. It's about fostering independent thought.
It's a skill that requires practice, but it's so worth it for raising thoughtful, critical thinkers.
Absolutely. In our next episode, we'll explore how different perspectives lead to different stories, and how understanding those differences enriches our own understanding.
That sounds fascinating. So, next episode, different perspectives, different stories.
Welcome back. Last time we explored spotting bias. Now let's tackle different perspectives and the stories they tell.
That's right, Alex. We've talked about analyzing information. Now we're emphasizing that how you look at something or who is looking can completely change the picture. There isn't always just one single truth.
Exactly. Think about a basketball game. One fan sees a great play. The opposing fan might see it as a foul. They see the same action, but their perspective changes how they interpret it.
So, it's not just about information being true or false, but how it's experienced and understood. Our backgrounds and beliefs can act like a filter, shaping our view of events.
Precisely. For children, learning this is powerful. It helps them move beyond a black and white view of the world. It teaches empathy, too. Understanding someone else's viewpoint helps you understand why they act or feel a certain way.
So, by encouraging kids to seek out different perspectives, we teach them critical thinking and compassion.
Absolutely. Consider a historical event. Reading only from the victors gives one story. Accounts from the conquered or from ordinary people offer a richer, more complex picture.
That makes sense. It's like putting on different glasses. One pair shows a sunny day, another shows rain clouds. It's the same sky, but your perception differs.
That's a great analogy. And how do we help children do this? We encourage them to ask, who is telling this story, and what might their experience be?
So, if they read a story about a dragon from the knight's perspective, we encourage them to imagine. What would the dragon say? What's the dragon side of this?
Perfect. It's about not taking the first story as the only story. It's about actively seeking other narratives. This can mean talking to different people, reading books from diverse authors, or watching documentaries that present multiple viewpoints. These actions help them develop a more complete understanding.
And we must model this ourselves. If we discuss a news event, it's helpful to mention different sources. This outlet reported X, but another outlet focused on Y and had a different take.
Exactly. Showing that we value different angles teaches them it's worthwhile to explore beyond the obvious. It helps them develop a balanced viewpoint, not a rigid one. This is crucial for navigating our complex world. Situations are rarely just a simple good guy versus bad guy scenario.
So, to recap, different perspectives aren't just variations on a theme. They can fundamentally change our understanding of a situation. Encouraging children to seek them out fosters empathy, critical thinking, and a more nuanced view. We can ask, whose story is this, and model the desired behavior for them.
You summarized it beautifully. Stepping outside our own experience to consider others' views is a cornerstone of independent thought. It means we're less likely to be swayed by a single, potentially biased narrative and more likely to form our own well-rounded conclusions.
It's about building a richer, more complete picture by understanding how different people experience the same reality. And that leads us to our next topic, which is all about analyzing evidence.
Excellent. Next episode, we'll dive into analyzing evidence. We'll explore what's solid, what's shaky, and how to spot the difference.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back. Last time we explored different perspectives. Now, let's examine evidence.
That's right, Alex. We've discussed asking why, how, and what if. But if someone makes a claim, it's not enough to just accept it. We need to ask, what's the proof? This episode is about examining that proof.
Absolutely. So what do we mean by evidence? Think of evidence as the information that supports a statement or an idea. It's the because behind a what. If someone says it's going to rain, the evidence might be dark clouds, a change in wind, or a weather forecast.
So, evidence is essentially the facts or observations that back up a claim. It's what makes an argument or a statement convincing, rather than just speculation. Children need to know how to evaluate claims they hear.
Exactly. And the strength of the evidence matters. Not all evidence is created equal. We need to help children understand the difference between strong and weak evidence. A good starting point is to ask, where did this information come from?
Ah, the source. That ties back to our discussions on reliability. If the source is known to be trustworthy, that's a good sign. But what if the source isn't immediately familiar, or if it's a person?
Great question. When the source is a person, we can encourage kids to ask about their personal experience. Do they see it with their own eyes? Did they experience it themselves? If a child says, "My friend said there's a monster under my bed," the evidence is the friend's word. That's hearsay, and it's not very strong evidence. But if the child says, "I heard a growling sound and saw a shadow," that's personal observation, which is stronger evidence.
That makes sense. Personal observation, when it's direct, carries more weight. So, for a child, this might look like saying, "Can you tell me what you saw or heard?" instead of just accepting a friend's report as fact.
Precisely. And beyond personal observation, we have another powerful form of evidence, facts. Facts are statements that can be proven true through objective means. For instance, the Earth is round is supported by vast amounts of scientific evidence.
Facts are objective and verifiable. They're not based on feelings or opinions. This is a really important distinction to teach kids. How can we help them identify facts?
We can encourage them to ask questions that lead to factual support. If someone says, "This is the best ice cream ever," that's an opinion. But if they say, "This ice cream has won 5 gold medals at national competitions," that's a factual claim we can verify. We can then ask, "Can you show me where it won those medals?"
So, it's about looking for evidence that can be independently checked. This is where reliable websites or books from reputable sources come into play, right?
Exactly. And we can categorize evidence into a few key types to make it easier to grasp. Think of these as our proof pillars. First, there's personal observation. This is what a person directly sees, hears, smells, tastes, or feels. It's strong when it's firsthand. Second, we have facts. These are verifiable truths, often supported by data or records. Third, there are expert opinions. This is when someone with special knowledge or training on a subject shares their findings. Think of a doctor or a historian. And finally, there's statistics and data. These are numbers and figures that can show patterns or trends.
Personal observation, facts, expert opinions, and statistics. Those are great anchors. Let's unpack those a little further. You mentioned expert opinions. How do we guide children to trust an expert's opinion but also understand that even experts can sometimes be wrong or have differing views?
That's a nuanced point, Lisa. We want them to respect expertise, but not to blindly follow. The evidence for an expert opinion often lies in their qualifications and how their findings align with other reliable information. If a child learns that a veterinarian said something different about pet care than someone else, we can point to the veterinarian's years of study and practice as reasons why their opinion is more evidence-based for that specific topic.
So, it's about understanding why someone is considered an expert and looking for consensus where possible. What about statistics? Sometimes numbers can be presented in a way that's misleading.
Indeed, they can. Statistics and data are powerful, but they require careful examination. We need to ask, how is this data collected? What does this number actually represent? And is this a small sample size or a large, representative one? For example, saying 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste is a statistic. But where did that data come from? Was it a fair survey? It's a good piece of evidence, but it's worth exploring further.
This is so important when we think about advertising or news reports. They often use statistics to make a point. So for kids, it's about looking beyond the number itself and asking how that number was generated.
Exactly. And a crucial part of analyzing evidence is asking about its relevance. Even if information is true and from a reliable source, does it actually support the claim being made? If we're arguing that a new park is needed, evidence could be statistics on how few playgrounds there are. But if the evidence presented is about a football team's performance, that's not relevant to the argument for a new park.
Relevance. That's like saying, okay, you've given me some information, but how does that actually prove your point? It tests the logical connection between the evidence and the claim. So, to recap, we're teaching kids to look for evidence, identify the source, consider the type of evidence, be it personal observation, facts, expert opinion, or data, and then analyze its strength and relevance.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. By asking for proof and then evaluating that proof, children develop a stronger ability to form their own reasoned opinions and understand the world around them. It's a foundational skill for lifelong learning and independent thinking.
This episode has really highlighted the practical steps involved. It's not just about thinking, it's about how we think critically about the information we receive.
And that's exactly what we'll continue to build on. Next time, we'll explore how to connect the dots with the evidence we've gathered and learn how to make sound inferences. Next episode, Connecting the Dots, Making Inferences. Welcome back. Last time, we dived deep into analyzing evidence. Today, we explore connecting those pieces of evidence to draw conclusions that aren't explicitly stated. We're talking about making inferences.
Making inferences. Sometimes, facts aren't laid out perfectly, so we figure things out using the clues we have.
Exactly. Think about being a detective. They gather clues, a footprint, a witness statement, and put them together to understand what happened. That process of understanding beyond what's directly given, that's inferring.
So, it's about reading between the lines?
Precisely. If you see someone with a dripping umbrella and a raincoat, what can you infer about the weather?
It must be raining. You didn't see rain, but the clues suggest it.
You inferred it. You used given information to reach a conclusion not directly told to you. You connected the dots. This builds on analyzing evidence. Remember evaluating evidence quality? Making inferences is using that quality evidence effectively.
So, we check the clues, then use them for the bigger picture. How do we help children develop this?
Start with everyday scenarios. When reading a story, pause and ask questions. If a character is shivering and wearing a scarf, what might be happening?
They're probably cold. Maybe it's winter.
Perfect. And if they're holding hot cocoa, what can we infer?
That they're trying to warm up, maybe cozying up somewhere nice.
Excellent. One clue supports another, leading to deeper understanding. For kids, these exercises are powerful. We're teaching them to look beyond literal words. Use pictures too. Show a park scene with people in coats looking up. What inferences can they make?
It's chilly, and they might be looking at clouds, or perhaps snow.
Indeed. And what if a child wears a bright hat and scarf?
Maybe they're trying to cheer up on a drab day, or it's a festival.
See how many possibilities emerge. This is inferring in action. It's synthesizing information, weaving pieces together. This connects to spotting bias and different perspectives. Different people might infer different things from the same clues, as long as their inferences are supported.
So, we look at facts and the relationships between them.
Exactly. Inferences are logical deductions, not wild guesses. Ask, what makes you think that? Or what clues led you there? This prompts them to articulate their reasoning and check if their inference is grounded.
So, it's not just coming up with an idea, but explaining why.
Precisely. This process also builds confidence. When children successfully deduce information, they feel empowered. They realize they can understand more, even when not everything is spelled out. This is a cornerstone of independent thinking. Remember our early episodes on curiosity and asking why? Making inferences is a natural extension. You want to know more, so you look for clues.
It's a natural progression of learning. We ask why, then how, examine evidence, and now we're putting it all together.
You've hit on something important. Making sound inferences allows us to actively construct understanding. It's how we learn to predict outcomes, understand motivations, and grasp complex situations. If a child sees a classmate looking sad and remembers they dropped their ice cream, they can infer the sadness is related.
That's a great example. It involves recalling a past event, observing an emotion, and connecting them.
And it's vital in academic settings, social interactions, and life. In school, it helps with literature, science, and history. In social situations, it helps with interpreting body language. In everyday life, it helps us make decisions.
So, to recap, making inferences means using clues, the evidence you have, to figure out something not directly told to you. It's about connecting the dots. We practice this with children by reading stories, looking at pictures, and asking them to share the clues that led to their conclusions.
That's a perfect summary. Strengthening inference is about empowering children to be more observant, analytical, and independent. They learn to trust their reasoning when it's supported by evidence. This skill is foundational for other critical thinking abilities.
It really ties everything together.
It does. And this leads beautifully into our next episode, where we'll build upon this skill to show how children can construct their own logically sound arguments.
Building strong arguments. That sounds powerful.
It is. So, join us next time on Raise Independent Thinkers as we explore how to build your own strong arguments. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to connect the dots and make smart inferences from the information we gather. Now it's time to take that thinking and build something powerful, your own strong arguments.
Building your own arguments. That sounds a bit intimidating. Is it like debating, where you have to fight to win?
That's a great question, Lisa, and it touches on a common misconception. While debating can involve arguments, building a strong argument isn't about winning in a combative sense. It's about clearly presenting your point of view and supporting it with good reasons and evidence, so others can understand and consider it. Think of it less like a boxing match and more like constructing a sturdy bridge.
A bridge. I like that. So it needs to be well built and lead somewhere?
Exactly. A strong argument aims to convince your listener or reader by showing them why your idea makes sense. It's about logical connection and clear communication. So, what are the key ingredients for building this sturdy bridge? We need clarity, logic, and solid support for our viewpoint.
Okay, clarity. That means making sure we're saying what we mean, right? No confusing words or foggy ideas.
Precisely. Clarity means being straightforward. First, you need a clear main point, often called a claim. This is the central idea you want others to accept. For example, if we're talking about why it's good to read, a clear claim might be, reading books regularly helps children develop better language skills.
So, the claim is like the destination of our bridge?
Perfect analogy. It's the destination. But a destination means nothing without a way to get there. That's where logic comes in. Logic is the framework of your argument, the structural beams that hold everything up. It's about how your ideas connect in a sensible order.
So, if my claim is that reading helps language skills, what would be a logical reason to support it?
A great logical reason or premise might be when children read, they encounter a wider variety of words and sentence structures than they typically hear in everyday conversation. Do you see how that premise directly supports the claim about language skills?
Yes, because reading exposes them to more words, their vocabulary grows, and they learn how to put sentences together in different ways. That makes sense.
It does. And we can even break that down further. Another logical premise could be understanding and using a wider vocabulary and varied sentence structures are key components of strong language skills. So, we have a claim, and we have premises that logically lead to that claim.
Okay, so we have the destination, the general direction, and some strong beams. But what about the actual road surface? The things that make the bridge solid and undeniable? You mentioned solid support, Alex.
Ah, that's the crucial part, the evidence. Evidence is the concrete and steel that makes your bridge unshakable. It's the facts, examples, statistics, or expert opinions that prove your premises are true. Without evidence, your logical premises are just educated guesses.
So, for our reading and language skills example, what kind of evidence could we use?
We could cite a study from university that found a direct correlation between the number of books a child reads and their performance on standardized language tests. Or we could share an anecdote about a child who struggled with reading and then saw significant improvement after starting a dedicated reading program.
So, the claim is what we want people to believe. The premises are the reasons why we believe it. And the evidence is the proof that those reasons are valid.
You got it. Claim, premises, evidence. This is the foundation of a strong argument. Remember when we talked about analyzing information in episode 4? This is where you apply that skill to build your own ideas. You're not just repeating what you've heard, you're synthesizing it and presenting it in your own reasoned way.
And it's important that the evidence is reliable, right? Not just something we heard from one person.
Absolutely. Just like you wouldn't want a bridge built with flimsy materials, you need credible evidence. Is it from a trustworthy source? Is it up to date? Is it relevant to your point? Asking these questions, which we've practiced, is vital when gathering support for your argument.
So, to recap what we've covered, building strong arguments involves a clear claim, logical premises that support that claim, and credible evidence to back up those premises. It's about constructing a case, not just stating an opinion.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And to make your argument even stronger, consider how you present it. Speaking clearly and confidently, or writing with well-organized paragraphs, helps your listener or reader follow your line of thinking. Think about the flow. Does one point naturally lead to the next? It's like telling a story, but this story is built on facts and reasons.
So, it's not just what you say, but how you say it. That can really make a difference in whether people understand and accept your point.
Indeed. And as you get more practice, you'll find it becomes easier to identify weak points in your own reasoning and strengthen them. Building an argument is an iterative process, meaning you often refine it as you go.
This feels really empowering. It takes us from being receivers of information to active creators of reasoned thought.
That's exactly the goal. By learning to build your own strong arguments, you're developing a powerful tool for expressing your ideas, understanding complex issues, and engaging thoughtfully with the world around you. You're learning to stand on your own 2 feet intellectually.
So, it's about being clear about your main point, using logical steps to connect to it, and backing it all up with good proof. And then presenting it in a way that's easy to follow.
You've nailed it. Next episode, we'll dive into what it means to truly think for yourself and embrace intellectual independence. Next episode, Thinking for Yourself, the Power of Independence. Welcome back. Last time we discussed building strong arguments. Now let's tackle thinking for yourself.
This episode brings together all the skills we've built. It's about empowering children to form their own informed opinions, truly a culmination of our journey.
Precisely. We started with the spark of curiosity, teaching them to ask why, to understand the root of things. Then we moved on to how and what if, which opens up possibilities and encourages creative problem solving.
And that connected with decoding information. We learn to look for reliable sources and verify facts, rather than just accepting things at face value. It's the first step in not just passively receiving information, but actively processing it.
To truly process information, you need to be aware of the invisible influences. That's why we delved into unmasking assumptions. Those unspoken beliefs can color everything we hear and see. Recognizing them is key.
And then we explored the world of opinions. It's about understanding that my opinion and your opinion are valid, even if they differ. It's about respecting diversity of thought.
Which naturally leads into spotting bias. If you understand that opinions exist, the next logical step is recognizing when those opinions are being presented with a particular slant. Spotting bias is so vital. It helps children see past the persuasive language to the underlying motive.
Right. And when we talked about different perspectives, we reinforced that the way someone sees the world shapes their story. What seems obvious to one person might be completely different to another based on their background, their experiences, their values.
All of this, understanding assumptions, respecting opinions, spotting bias, and recognizing different perspectives, equips us to really analyze evidence. It's not just about having evidence, but about evaluating its quality. Is it strong evidence? Is it relevant? Is it sufficient?
And once we have that evidence, we can start connecting the dots. This is where children learn to read between the lines, to see what's implied even if it's not explicitly stated. It's the heart of critical thinking, drawing logical conclusions.
Then we put it all together to build strong arguments. This is about taking all those analyzed pieces and forming your own coherent point of view, backed by that evidence. It's about moving from analyzing to constructing.
So now we're talking about the power of independence. This is the culmination. It's about children feeling empowered to use all these skills they've learned. It's about trusting their own judgment after they've done the work. It's saying, I've considered this from multiple angles, I've looked at the evidence, I've thought about potential biases, and this is what I believe.
It's developing that inner voice of critical evaluation. Imagine a child being presented with a persuasive advertisement. Instead of immediately wanting the product, they pause. They might ask themselves, what is this ad trying to make me believe? What evidence are they showing me? Is it biased towards making me feel a certain way? They're not just receiving the message, they're interrogating it.
And that leads to genuine autonomy. It's moving away from simply agreeing with what parents, teachers, or friends say towards forming their own informed opinions. They're not just spectators, they're participants in their own understanding.
This independence is built on a foundation of curiosity and courage. Curiosity to ask the questions, and courage to accept the answers that their own thoughtful analysis leads them to. It's about nurturing a mindset that's always seeking to understand, rather than just to conform.
It's like giving them a compass and a map. We've given them the tools to navigate the world of information, to chart their own course. They learn to trust the process, gather information, analyze it thoroughly, consider different viewpoints, identify potential pitfalls like bias, and then confidently form their own conclusions.
And this confidence is infectious. When children feel secure in their ability to think independently, they become more resilient. They're less swayed by peer pressure or misinformation because they have a robust internal system for evaluating what they encounter. They develop a healthy skepticism, which is the bedrock of sound judgment.
So, to recap for our listeners, thinking for yourself means combining all the skills we've developed. It's about first, understanding that information needs to be examined, not just accepted. Second, recognizing your own assumptions and those of others. Third, actively looking for and evaluating evidence. And fourth, having the confidence to form your own reasoned conclusions, even if they differ from the crowd.
It's a lifelong journey, of course. But by equipping our children with these abilities early on, we're setting them up for success in school, in their personal lives, and as engaged, thoughtful members of society. They learn to be discerning consumers of information, critical participants in discussions, and ultimately, individuals who can stand confidently on their own well-reasoned platforms.
It's incredibly empowering. It's the ultimate aim of education in many ways to produce individuals who can think for themselves, who can contribute meaningfully, and who can adapt to a world that is constantly changing.
Absolutely. And with that, we've reached the core of what it means to be an independent thinker. This is a skill that will serve them at every stage of life. Next episode, the Lifelong Learner's Toolkit. Welcome back. Last time we covered thinking for yourself. Now let's talk about the Lifelong Learner's Toolkit.
I know, Alex. It's been such a journey. Today, we're focusing on how these skills, these habits of thinking, build the foundation for lifelong learning.
Exactly, Lisa. The goal isn't just to raise kids who can question, but kids who want to keep learning throughout their lives. And that's where the toolkit comes in. We spent this series building it, piece by piece, haven't we?
We have. We started with that initial spark of curiosity, learning to ask why. Then we moved to how and what if questions, pushing beyond the surface. Remember how crucial it was to teach them to evaluate information, to ask if it's true?
Absolutely. And unmasking assumptions. That's such a key tool. We often don't even realize we're operating on assumptions until we stop and examine them. Similarly, understanding the difference between opinions and facts is vital.
And then we delved into spotting bias. It's like putting on special glasses to see the world more clearly, recognizing that different people will have different perspectives. Analyzing evidence became our next superpower, figuring out what actually constitutes proof.
Connecting the dots, or making inferences from that evidence, is a powerful skill too. It allows us to understand things that aren't explicitly stated. And from there, we learn to build our own strong arguments, using that analyzed evidence and clear reasoning.
Which all brings us back to thinking for yourself, the core of true independence. So this toolkit, it's not just a set of academic skills. It's a way of approaching the world with an open, questioning, and continuously learning mindset.
Precisely. Think of it like this. A gardener doesn't just plant a seed and walk away. They need a whole set of tools, a trowel, a watering can, pruners, good soil to nurture that plant throughout its life. Our kids are our plants, and this toolkit is their gardening equipment for life.
That's a perfect analogy, Alex. So, for parents listening, how do we make sure this toolkit is being used and expanded upon even after our kids leave home?
The best way is to model it. Continue to be curious yourself. Ask questions, admit when you don't know something, and then go find the answer. Show your children that learning isn't a phase that ends with graduation. It's a lifelong adventure.
So, it's about fostering a love of discovery, a genuine interest in understanding. It's about encouraging them to explore new subjects, not because they have to for a test, but because they're genuinely fascinated.
Yes, and it's also about giving them the confidence to express their evolving understanding. They might start with one opinion, and years later, based on new information and experiences, their thinking might evolve. That's not inconsistency, that's growth. That's lifelong learning in action.
It really is. It's about being comfortable with not knowing everything and being excited by the prospect of finding out. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities to learn rather than obstacles.
And this toolkit, once built, becomes truly portable. It's not tied to a specific subject or a specific age. Whether someone is starting a new job, learning a new hobby, or just trying to understand a complex global issue, these skills are their foundation.
So, to recap the toolkit we've built in this series, it's the ability to ask probing questions, the whys, hows, and what ifs. It's the critical evaluation of information, distinguishing facts from opinions, and spotting bias. It's analyzing evidence and making sound inferences, then using that to build strong arguments.
And critically, it's the courage to think independently and the unwavering commitment to lifelong learning. These are the cornerstones of a curious, engaged, and fulfilled life. They empower individuals to adapt, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to the world around them.
It's empowering just talking about it. It means our children and we ourselves are never truly finished. There's always something new to explore, a deeper understanding to gain.
Indeed, the world is constantly changing, and the ability to learn and adapt is the ultimate superpower. By equipping our children with this toolkit, we're not just preparing them for school, we're preparing them for life.
It's a beautiful foundation to give them. And it's incredible to think that the simple act of encouraging a question can set someone on a path of continuous discovery.
It truly can. Remember, the goal is to cultivate not just knowledgeable children, but curious, critical, and independent thinkers who will continue to learn and grow for the rest of their lives. They'll be the ones driving innovation and finding solutions to the challenges of tomorrow.
This has been such an insightful episode, Alex. It really reinforces the long-term value of everything we've discussed in this series. The skills we've built are not just for childhood, they are truly for a lifetime.
Well said, Lisa. And that brings us to the end of our penultimate episode. Next time, we'll be wrapping up our series with Becoming Confident Questioners, where we'll offer some final thoughts and encouragement. Welcome back to Raise Independent Thinkers. This is episode 14, the grand finale.
It's hard to believe it's the last episode, Alex. We've covered so much ground, from the simple why to dissecting bias and building our own arguments. It feels like we've given our young listeners a whole toolkit for navigating the world.
Exactly, Lisa. And that's the goal, isn't it? To equip them with the confidence and the skills to think for themselves, to question thoughtfully, and to become truly independent thinkers. So, let's do a quick recap of everything we've explored together.
Sound like a great plan. We started, if I remember correctly, with the spark of curiosity. We talked about how kids are naturally curious and how important it is to nurture that.
That's right. We emphasize that curiosity isn't just about asking questions, it's about a desire to understand. Then, in the art of asking why, we dug into that fundamental question. We learned that why isn't just for toddlers. It's a powerful tool for understanding motivations and causes.
And we saw how going deeper with how and what if helped broaden that understanding even further. It's all about moving beyond the surface level to explore possibilities and processes.
Absolutely. Then we shifted gears to critical evaluation. In decoding information, is it true? We started looking at how to assess the reliability of information. This is so crucial in today's world, isn't it?
It really is. And that led us naturally into unmasking assumptions. Learning that people often have hidden beliefs or ideas behind their statements is a game changer for younger minds.
Precisely. Assumptions are like the hidden currents beneath the surface of a conversation. Then, in the world of opinions, yours and theirs, we tackled understanding that opinions are subjective and value-based, and that they differ from facts.
And that distinction between facts and opinions is so important. Spotting bias, a sneaky influence, really helped us understand the subtle ways our own experiences or backgrounds can color how we present information. It's like a filter that can sometimes distort the view.
A very apt metaphor, Lisa, and in different perspectives, different stories. We learned that seeing the same event through different people's eyes can reveal a much fuller picture. There's rarely just one way to see things.
That's the beauty of listening and empathy, isn't it? Then, in analyzing evidence, what's the proof? We got down to brass tacks. We learned to ask for evidence and to evaluate its quality. Is it strong, clear, and relevant?
Indeed, evidence is the foundation upon which strong conclusions are built. And that leads us to connecting the dots, making inferences. This is where we take all that information, all that evidence, and we start to see the patterns, drawing logical conclusions.
It's like putting together pieces of a puzzle. And once you can make inferences, you can start to build your own sound arguments as we explored in building your own strong arguments. It's about presenting your ideas clearly and supporting them with that solid evidence.
That's the essence of thoughtful communication. Then, a really empowering episode, Thinking for Yourself, the Power of Independence. We reinforce that it's okay to disagree, to have your own thoughts, and to not just follow the crowd.
That feeling of independence is so vital for self-esteem. And in our previous episode, The Lifelong Learner's Toolkit, we talked about how these questioning skills are not just for school projects, but for life. It's about a continuous journey of learning and discovery.
You've perfectly summarized our incredible journey, Lisa, from sparking curiosity to building confidence in one's own intellect. We've covered the spectrum. The core message throughout this entire series has been about empowering our listeners to engage with the world actively, not passively.
It's about giving them the permission and the tools to question respectfully, to analyze critically, and to form their own well-reasoned conclusions. It's not about being argumentative. It's about being informed and thoughtful.
Exactly. It's about understanding that asking questions is not a sign of weakness or ignorance, but a sign of strength, intelligence, and a genuine desire to learn. These skills will serve them in every aspect of their lives, in school, in their relationships, and in their future careers.
So, to all our listeners out there, remember, your questions are valuable. Your curiosity is a superpower. Don't be afraid to ask why, how, and what if. Look for the evidence, consider different perspectives, and trust your own ability to think.
Embrace the power of independent thought. Become confident questioners, and you will become confident learners and confident individuals. This series has been an absolute joy to produce, a testament to the incredible potential within every curious young mind.
It truly has. And with that, we've reached the end of our series, Raise Independent Thinkers. Teach kids question thoughtfully.
Thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating exploration. We hope we've inspired you, and more importantly, that we've inspired the young people in your lives to embrace their inner questioner.
Thanks for listening to this series.